and the rage in the 60s. And then that's what caused the white Southerners, evangelicals, and fundamentalists to start registering to vote, because now they wanted to get involved. And we'll talk about that right after our little break. You got
Joe Hill. He did it already.
What did it? What he did?
He did it. Look at his acronym of Baptist.
Oh, okay. We'll read it right after this.
Yes.
Okay. We'll be right back.
To the best hip-hop and R&B for the past 30 years. Check out our sister station, UBM Jazz, by selecting it at our homepage at urbanbroadcastmedia.com. The following show is paid programming and does not necessarily express the views and opinions of Urban Broadcast Media and its subsidiaries. Thank you for listening to UBM Praise.
Something like this. Listen here. Oh, beautiful, far spacious skies, far amber waves of grain, far purple mountain majesties. Wait a minute. I'm talking about America, sweet America. You know.
Hi, hello, and welcome back.
Let's go. Sir Walter Jones. Who is it? Sir Walter Jones. What's his name? Sir Walter Jones. Whose show is this? Sir Walter Jones. Who is it? Sir Walter Jones. Say it again. Sir Walter Jones. Who you with? Sir Walter Jones. One more again. Sir Walter Jones. That's right.
The Sir Walter Jones Show with co-host Alvin Carter. We are a Christian talk show in which we tackle all the hot topics in a believer's walk. It's Theology Thursday. If you love the Word of God, grab your Bibles and let's see what thus saith the Lord. Join Elder Jones and Pastor Carter in some good old-fashioned Bible study.
Welcome back to School Political Science 101.
Schoolhouse Rock.
Yes, sir. This is Sir Walter Jones, and we're trying to educate y'all on where you live. A lot of you don't even know the governmental setup that you have. So class is back in session.
We know the government doesn't set us up.
Yes, we are set
yes,
up.
Sir.
Absolutely. So before I was rudely interrupted by Ray Charles.
Oh, beautiful. Talk about that.
That's sweet. That sure was. That sure was. So I was saying here, Francis A. Schaeffer, a fundamentalist, began to preach against humanism and the rage of the 1960s. So the Catholics fought against abortion in 1972 with Roe versus Wade. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And the evangelicals reluctantly, now the Christians, the evangelicals, they reluctantly, but they jumped in. Jerry Falwell jumped in with his 1978 sermon about abortion and the word spread like wildfire. He called it the moral majority.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Then Ronald Reagan joined forces with Falwell through the moral majority campaign, and it registered 10 million evangelicals.
Wow.
Because of Reagan. So Reagan made lots of promises to the evangelicals, and Falwell traveled the country with him trying to get him in office, but Reagan hardly honored any of his requests.
Typical.
Yeah. Okay. So Reagan made lots of promises, but he didn't. He honored none of them. So Falwell disbanded the moral majority, and then after he went back into the church preaching the gospel, Pat Robinson picked up the torch.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why we have. So what happens, instead of the evangelicals now going back into their churches, not voting, they're now got a taste of power.
Political power.
Absolutely. So they stayed in politics, meaning they began to continue to vote year and year, and that's when that's how the Bushes got in. Of course, the vice president was George Bush Sr. at the time.
Yes.
All right. So once they realized we can do this and do this again, they stayed in there.
Speaking of jumping parties, George Bush was once a Democrat.
Yeah. Oh, yep. Sure was.
He was on the primary ticket with Jimmy Carter at one time.
Yes.
Jimmy who?
Yeah.
Jimmy Carter.
Yeah, the peanut guy.
No, that was the phrase back then. Jimmy
who?
Right.
Yeah. So now we did we went around the world and came back.
Around the world.
Because now, Rodney Jones,
Yes.
if you were in church and it was time for you to vote, you're worshiping God on a Sunday morning at your church.
Mm-hmm.
And then the spirit is high, and then some politician walk in the door.
Yes.
And your pastor, whoever up, say, stop the spirit. Because some other spirit is just walking. Okay? And they pass over the mic and give it to that person to campaign.
Out of order.
Okay. Why is that out of order?
Because the politician is not a spiritual thing.
Okay.
It is a natural carnal thing. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it should be interrupting a worship setting.
Sure.
If the politician chooses to come at Reb's agreement,
right,
let it be on an off night.
Yeah, I agree.
Because even though voting will affect the entire church, especially the community of that church, even though we know many people who are members of that church does not live in that community, so it won't almost affect them anyhow. But I don't think that is in good taste to interrupt nor even invite a politician on a Sunday high worship service to talk about other things.
And you rarely will see them in your church in any
you
other
will
time.
never see them in your church other than when it's come time for them to run for an office.
I heard a story from you a couple of years ago. A very interesting story. Mm-hmm. You mentioned something about, I think of JFK and he was with Mayor Daley Sr.
Yes.
Okay, and he passed by Robert Taylor Holmes, I think is one of them, and he mentioned something about a tool shed.
Yeah, tool shed.
Can give me that story again.
It was said or alleged that when they were driving past one of the projects, and he says to him, "You see that right there, the project?" He says, "That's what we call a tool shed." He said, "What do you mean?" He says, "You only go into a tool shed to take out the tools that you need. When you finish with the tool, you put it back into the shed, lock it up so no other man takes your tools."
Wow.
He says, when it comes to voting,
that's your tool
we're
shed.
going to unlock those tool sheds, which is all of those projects.
And they go now.
We're going to pick them up, take these tools to the voting place,
Right.
and have them to vote for you or whoever we want them to vote for, and then we're going to take them back to the shed and lock them back up.
Yeah.
That's what your president and mayor discussed.
That's so profound and profane simultaneously.
It is.
Yes.
Ain't that something?
Yes.
And notice the demographic has changed.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yes.
Because now that it's gone,
Yeah.
now that the tool shed has been broken down or for whatever reason, it's up for grabs.
But
Yeah.
look at what your uncle, the late Dr. John Albert Jones, said back, who passed 1995. He said what they're going to do is they're going to move the African Americans to another location.
Sure.
He says, and they call that location the suburbs. and the non-African Americans, I'm being politically, is going to move back into the city.
Yes.
And then they're going to put everything you all need out there in the suburb. Restaurants, bowling alleys, everything. And then they're going to lock you up out there and keep an eye on you out there. And then they're going to take the city back. Now, he died in 1995. Now, all of the projects have been taken down, and they come up with this scattered housing.
Yes.
And a lot of them are out there in the suburbs.
I know.
On Section 8. And one day, they're going to remove Section 8. Then what's going to happen to those who are dependent upon it? Because they're going to stop being dependent upon God.
Wow.
And they're going to start depending on man. And when man moves with his politics, you're in trouble.
Yeah, yeah, and that's deep. So basically, when voting is over with, that's too much. When voting is over with, you put your tools away.
That's it. You put your tools away.
Yeah,
and you lock them back up.
And you lock them back up until
it's time to vote in the next 4 years.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and
you only release them for that.
So the new tool shed is the charter schools.
Yeah, yeah,
yes. That's it.
That's how the public schools have broken down, because black families are saying it's better at the charter school. The building looks better. Mm-hmm. They stay in school longer, and the bad kids get kicked out immediately. So my kids feel safer here.
Yes,
and the public schools break down for numbers and lack of attendance.
And it's all a trick. It's all set up as a design.
Yeah,
because
nothing just happens.
Yeah, we only move by things that make us feel good for the present moment.
Yeah, that's good. Natalie, I'm reading what you're saying. I wasn't talking about Mondale and Carter. I was talking about Reagan and Bush. But Bush Jr. was the vice president of Ronald Reagan. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bush Senior was the vice president.
But what did I say?
Junior.
I'm sorry, Senior. Yeah, was the vice president of Ronald Reagan.
I mentioned Carter and Bush.
You did. Yeah, that was
in the primary election in Carter's electoral year.
Yeah.
Bush was a Democratic candidate who did not make the primary, so Carter won the Democratic Party vote.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah, and he only served one term. Then they kicked him out after that.
You know why?
Because
he
wasn't
busy enough. He wasn't flamboyant enough. He wasn't wasteful enough.
Sure.
They look back now and see that he was probably the most economically sound president because he was a real businessman. And everything he did, he saved the government money.
Well,
but they got rid of him because
he said reading my lips.
Saving the government money was taking money away from the big business, because that's how the big business sold.
But that usually happens. That usually happens in politics, whether it's Christian, whether it's church politics or American politics, is that usually it takes years later for someone to understand the worth of a man's
his leadership, the value of his ethics.
Absolutely.
All of that,
yes. And even if we think somebody's leadership was great, we'll find out that there was a lot of flaws also in the leadership. Right. Because FDR.
FDR, they had a lot. They
had a lot of holes. Although, and he was my favorite. Okay. FDR was my favorite. But as I began to not read our history books, because it's not in there. When you read the updated periodicals, you realize there was a lot of problems. Some things that he did, he should have done. What he should have done, watch this. He should have encouraged the nation to spend more, and that will boost up the economy. But
I said that with the bailout.
Yeah, you're supposed to do that. But what he did was he took the money out, meaning he says, okay, stop spending. Let me give you these social things, services, what have you. And that extended the Depression. Absolutely. So we don't know these things until we just do the study.
Look back in retrospect.
Exactly.
I said, look at the Depression and see what mistakes they made. But the problem is they bailed out the people who didn't need bailing out.
Yeah.
Knowing that the mortgages was corrupt, knowing that all these people had these guerrilla mortgages and these creative mortgages that are just totally unbiased, the government should have bailed out every homeowner. And do you know, if your mortgage was paid you would go buy a new car because you had the money to buy a new car.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it would have impacted the economy in a whole much better way because if people shopping, they got to have people in the stores to service the consumers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's why I'm running for mayor, y'all.
1 Timothy 2, I believe, about praying for those in
government.
office. Yeah, can we go there? Let's find it because we gotta end this on a spiritual note.
Yes.
1 Timothy chapter 2, I know is there, but it's somewhere up in there while y'all.